speaking at the Sunday Feast celebration. And the topic of today is the fall and redemption of the soul. And I wrote a poem to that effect, which I'm going to share with you, and then we'll explore it. So this poem has some interesting features I think you'll notice after a couple of verses. Let's get a little more of it. Okay. So this is based, of course, on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds. With pure simplicity and loving sensibility, all serve with humility. But when a living entity rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity, and with it all capacity to understand reality or curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability, forgetting his fragility and fortune's volatility. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoid of piety, he suffers in anxiety, till contact with God's brevity, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of the divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and casts away his vanity. Endowed with due humility, he serves with all ability and growing spontaneity, his guru and deity. Regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. So that is my little hippie song, describing the fall and redemption of the soul. And now we're going to explore some of the meanings of the different stages of this poem. So the first line says, where Krishna lives, felicity abounds with pure simplicity and loving sensibility, or serve with humility. So this is a little description of the spiritual world. One of the basic principles of Krishna consciousness is that we are spiritual beings whose nature is Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. This is our original nature, called our Swarup. But we've lost touch with that nature. Because we're very minute, we are part and parcel, or anksha, of the supreme consciousness, conscious person, God, whatever you want to call him. And because we are part and parcel, just like a drop of ocean water it's salty and has the same composition, but it's very, very minute. So we have the same basic nature as the Supreme Person. But because of our minuteness, we also have the tendency to be covered by the material energy, by illusion, and forget all about our eternal blissful nature in the spiritual world. And that's what happens. So we should understand we're in the minority. The majority of living entities are there in the kingdom of God and enjoying blissful exchanges of love with the Supreme Person, Krishna. Why is he called Krishna? Because he's all attractive. He attracts infinite living beings. And the wonderful thing is, unlike us, we try to have so many friends on Facebook, right? Oh, I have 1,000 friends. But really, what's the quality of that friendship? They know a little bit about you, you know a little bit, but there's not much going on there. And at any moment, the person may end his Facebook page, and what happened to the friendship, you know, or other things. But Krishna's not like that. He can actually have unlimited friends, unlimited servants, unlimited lovers, and each and every one of them feels that Krishna is personally relating to them. That's the infinite. Think infinite, and we're infinitesimal. So, because of we have Krishna's nature in a minute degree, he's supremely independent. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. That's what it means to be God. But we're not. Although we have minute independence, we have some independence. If we exercise it to, as it says here, reject our true identity as eternal loving servants of Krishna, then we lose that remembrance of who we are, and we're put into this material world. This is called the fall of the jiva. Lord Chaitanya mentions. He says, Ainanda tanu jikinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavanguto. Kudaya tavapada pankajastitaduli sadrisham vichintaya. He says there, oh, son of Nanda, that's Krishna. Nanda Tanuja. He was born from the body, so in Leela he was born from the body of Madhava. Kinkaram. Kinkaram means not just a servant, but a very menial servant. Surrendered. But, patitam, I've fallen into this horrible ocean of birth and death. Vishame Bambudo. Please be merciful upon me and lift me back up and reinstate me as a servant of the lotus feet. That's the prayer. And he's teaching us how to pray as we chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada taught us that this mantra, of course, the Maha Mantra. But what's the underlying mood that we chant in? That he also taught us. And he said it's just like a little child crying for its mother. Or the basic principle of, please reinstate me to this. So, what's happening here to this living entity who's after all us? You know, this phrase in English called every man doesn't necessarily mean it's not a woman. It means like just the average person. So this is us in the material world. Every living entity has gone through this experience. So why did we leave? That's a good question. It wasn't a very good idea because we've been suffering in this material world as described in the poem for so long, and we should be interested in regaining our position. But when a living entity rejects its true identity, and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity. So this is really the problem. In other words, out of ignorance, we want to try to compete with God in His position. If we simply recognize our true position as servants, we can live there blissfully forever. You know? But when we think that, no, let me try to be God, see how it works out. And that's our fall. So we turn away, we turn our back. This is why one of the regulations in Krishna consciousness is don't turn your back on Krishna. You know? We try to do it for the spiritual master because of the nature of the temple, it's not always possible. But the idea is, that's an offense. Right? Wasn't it like that in the Roman days? You turned your back on the emperor and you risked getting down. Right? So it's an offense. So we turned our back on Krishna and we turned it toward this material world and we became bewildered and controlled. So that we reject our true identity and out of sheer ignorance, stupidity, surrenders to cupidity. Cupidity is a very interesting English word. Clearly has its origin in lust, but it's come to mean greed also. If you look it up in the dictionary, you find the primary meaning is greed. So let's think of it as a nice 50-50 mix of lust and greed, okay, which we try to overcome. But we surrender to that material desire, and we lose all our sagacity. Our knowledge is covered. This is right out of the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter. Arjuna asks a question of Krishna. What is it that tells us to do things that we may even know were not good for us? Against our will, by force. We may have had that experience. I assume most of us in this room, or I shouldn't assume, but let's put it this way. We've all known someone, or we certainly know of someone, who has been under the thrall of alcohol or drugs, right? That's a very common thing in this modern world, Western world. So what does that mean? Well, certainly someone doesn't take a drug or alcohol. I really want to get addicted. I want to become fall down drunk and lose my home and my life. You know? This is what happens if you become an alcoholic sometimes. You ruin your life. But that's not the idea. The idea is to enjoy. Forget your troubles, have fun with your friends, and that, right? So the allurement is something pleasurable, but the end result is something horrible. That's what material sense gratification in general does. And so Krishna gives a general principle. He says, what is it that forces us to do things that our intelligence may tell us no, 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 but our senses are saying yes, yes. And we yield to them? Kama. Kama is material desire in general, sex desire in specific. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rojoguna, Samudvaha, Mahashano, Mahapapna, Vidyanam, Vaidinam. Vaidinam means enemy. He says it's lust, Arjuna. It's material desire, intense, which then transforms into intense anger, called wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. We're all here because we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's the idea, in various degrees of calm. So what's the result? That's mentioned here. Avitam jnanametenam jnanino nitya vaidana. That it covers our original knowledge. We are known as the Jnanina, the wise soul. We're part and parcel of Krishna. We have so much knowledge. But that knowledge is covered by the more that we surrender to, the more we become absorbed in material activities, sense gratification. So this is not good for us. Ultimately, it produces great suffering. So this is what's mentioned here. Out of sheer stupidity, we surrender to cupidity, and we lose all sagacity. And with it, all capacity to understand reality or curb our sensuality. So we lose the ability to understand who we really are, what our eternal good fortune is, what we should strive for, what the spiritual guru, the supreme person is. We forget all of that. And we can go down, down, down into lower species where we know even less. Everything that grows, everything that shows even an inkling of consciousness, there's a living entity there. In this tree outside here, it's been probably growing as long as we've been alive. There's a living being, there's a soul there. But, so covered. The consciousness has become totally covered. So it's standing out. Now we can hear it, we can feel the little hint of winter coming today, right? It's been nice and warm, or something, good. So now this poor tree is going to stand outside in winter. Freezing cold, the snow and everything. Do you ever hear the complaint? No. It's tolerated. Doesn't even realize moment to moment of suffering. This is how low we can go. The same soul that was once with Krishna has become covered by degrees of lust until it's crawling around as an ant or like that. Now we may have been good, so there's a system where you come up, and now we have the human form. So, in this human form, we should think about these things and try to revive our place in the spiritual world. So we lose the sagacity, we can't curb our sensuality. Yeah, we're going to have a period of questions, remember. Then, abandoning all humility. So this is what comes, the false ego, the sense of pride, is that we're proud of our power, proud of our money, our influence, whatever it is. We become proud, which is one of the aspects of illusion. What do we have to be proud of? We're sitting in this little fragile body, it could be crushed at any time, and eventually it will be, And if we don't have any wisdom, we may lose this human form. So we're really very insignificant, but still we'll be proud. So we abandon humility, and we tout our own ability, meaning that I can do so much separate from anyone else. This is part of illusion. And we forget our fragility of our situation, and fortune's volatility means that, yes, we may have a little money today, but it can go tomorrow. The Prabhu taught us that Lakshmi Devi, right, is the goddess of fortune. If you get her favor, you can become very wealthy. So, but she's also Chamshala. She's here today, gone tomorrow. We all maybe have experience. Yes, I had some money. What happened to it? Was somebody cheated me? I bought this. Right? It's here today, gone tomorrow. So that's volatility, and not just fortune, but everything fortune buys. Right? We have a house. We have this or that. What happened in 2008? So many people thought, I got my house. They didn't realize, no, the bank actually owns it. And then you couldn't tell which bank owned it. And, it became, and people lost their houses, they lost their mortgage, they lost their security. So there's no security here. We're all floating along very, fragilely, in ignorance if we think that we can find happiness and security in the material world. Because by the force of time, they quickly turn into their opposite. It's just the nature of things. So that's the situation. In 4 little verses here, I've described the fall of the diva. So what's the hope? Oh no, one more. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoted to piety, we suffer and anxiety. So how many lives has it been? We don't know. We've been, the basic teaching, the first teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, is that we're spiritual beings, we're not matter, and we're never born. The Jayate Vriyate Vakadachan. No living entity ever is born. We're as eternal as Krishna. But we're just aware of some part of this life. Even we know, I don't know about you, but I can remember, my first remembrance is riding a tricycle when I was about 4 years old. But there was a period when I was 3, 2, and 1, and like 6 months, and all kinds of things were happening. My mother could tell me these pictures But I have no memory, right? What to speak of life in the womb or before that? Yes, we had a previous life. Can't remember. There's one devotee in Gainesville, very nice devotee, who now decided that one of her professions, she's still a devotee, but she said, to make some money. You're going to be a hypnotherapist. You get hypnotized and you're able to supposedly see some of your previous lives, and it helps with your present life. Okay. Whether that's possible or not, there certainly is a previous life, and we can see the results in our present situation. Nobody here in this room is exactly like anyone else, right? What to speak of out in the whole world, no one is exactly. So what makes the difference? Well, influences in this life, certainly, but also, we call it genetics, but really genetics is just a record of your karma. What family you're born into, silver spoon in the mouth or something, more basic, or poverty-stricken. So all of that is going on. We're going through these different lifetimes. So, immersed in foolishness for what seems an infinity of lives. We don't know how many lives. So that's why it said, Anadi Bodhimukha. Anadi means without beginning. Virtually without beginning. Lord Brahma, who can say how long he lives approximately? Anyone remember? 311 trillion. Grossly underestimated. 311 trillion, 40 billion. But 40 billion is a rounding error when you get to 311 trillion. So that's how long our Brahma lives, and he's the shortest living Brahma. There's other Brahmas. So Brahma is in charge of the creation of the universe. Not the ultimate creator, but he's like the engineer. And every day he goes to sleep, and there's a destruction. Everything is destroyed but his planet at the top of the universe. And his day lasts over 8 billion years. So we've been going through so many different bodies, and finally we go into suspended animation after the day of Brahma, and then we go on and on. Who knows how many millions of lifetimes of Brahma we've been circling around. Brahmanda Brahma Dekon is the verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It means wandering through the universe, different species, different planets. This is what we've done. By Krishna's grace, we forget it all, and we start each verse anew. If we had to remember all that, we'd all have a massive case of PTSD. We could not function, remembering all those battles and those diseases and those deaths and being eaten by this. Seriously. So that's part of Krishna's blessing, right? But a better blessing is when he comes and speaks Bhagavad Gita or sends his emissary to teach us how to get out of this cycle of birth and death, samsara. First thing we sing, we had a huge crowd this morning for Mangalanti. Usually we have 3. We had 6, and then Mataji arrived and we had Mangalanti. So what's the first words of Mangalanti? Because not everybody will arrive on time. So the spiritual master who's